Hello, Bible readers. It's Monday, January 18th. We're reading from 1 Kings chapters 3 and 4, and John chapter 11, verse 45 through chapter 12, verse 19. So in 1 Kings, right away in chapter 3, something kind of strange happens. Solomon, and you might not even catch this as you read it, but Solomon goes to this high place, Gibeon, while the ark is already back in Jerusalem, which is where the presence of God is. So why go somewhere else? It's just one of these very subtle hints that Solomon kind of goes his own way, does his own thing. But God comes to Solomon despite Solomon's cooperation with Egypt, despite Solomon being in Gibeon, despite the ark being in Jerusalem. It leads to us understanding that Solomon is known to have been a prosperous, powerful king, very wise, very wealthy, enjoyed a great reputation in his own time and after. It's possible that Kings, this book of Kings, is a propaganda tool that was used to perpetuate that reputation. But even if it is a propaganda tool, it is also a book of faith that shows that God took a major role in equipping and sustaining Solomon, even through Solomon's questionable choices. So Solomon can be credited with being very gifted, but God was the source of those gifts. And God did meet Solomon where Solomon was at, even when those weren't maybe the best places to be. When you get to chapter 3, this is the most famous Solomon story, right? This is Solomon's wisdom on display. And then in chapter 4, we get Solomon's record. But I really appreciated this part because I know Solomon is kind of a character with many facets. My commentary says, nothing here suggests that Solomon deserves to have it so good. One may well envy Solomon, but this is not someone whom most of us would like. Apparently insecure in his power, he surrounds himself with people he trusts, promoting his own cronies, ensuring his own comfort. He seems to undermine traditional socio-political structures in order to ensure his influence throughout his domain, now reorganized into fiscal regions to support the prodigious expenses of his palace and his military machinery. Pretty much everything exists in Solomon's world to serve Solomon. Gross. Okay, to John. Now we see Mary's progress, perhaps, or at least that's one way to read it, as she is so amazingly generous. I'll read from this commentary. This juxtaposing or comparing of Mary's really, really abundant generosity, reflecting her love, and Judas's hypocritical objection based in self-interest poses the question, has Mary or this disciple rightly understood the significance of Jesus? Jesus' response to Judas obviously answers that question. His words close the episode and show that Mary, who had earlier responded to the voice of the Good Shepherd in chapter 10, Mary is the first person to understand the significance of the death of Jesus. Jesus commands Judas, leave her alone. He then explains the anointing. The purpose was that she might keep this for the day of preparation for my burial. So, I mean, that's a giant deal, right? That Mary is the first one to completely get it. And those tears that Jesus weeps around when Lazarus is dead and Mary is upset, those were perhaps too soon. That weeping was before seeing the full picture of who Mary would become. Then we've got Jesus going to Jerusalem, and he's on his way to the final and most important sign of who he is and where he's from. I am one with my God. My God is with us, all of us, at all times and in all places.